Let's talk about the sacral chakra and why it's so important. So, the sacral chakra is the center of our creation. Whether you're a man or a woman, all human beings create the life that they have. And we've talked about this in the past. The creation is done through the subconscious mind. However, through the chakra system, and this is why I work with the chakra system so closely, because the root is the foundation. So that's the feeling that you're projecting to create whatever reality you're going to be creating. Like, are you creating through safety? Or are you creating through fear? Are you creating through lack? Or are you creating through a success? All of that comes from the root, which we've been working on my channel. If you've been following along with the quantum healing activation sessions and the sleep activation sessions, level 1 and 2. So now we're moved up to the sacral chakra. The sacral, so now we've moved from the foundation. So we already know the foundation, the energetic frequency that we're going to be creating the reality in. The sacral chakra is what we're able to create. Now, the only way that we can create our highest potential life is if our sacral chakra is balanced and open and able to receive and give. The sacral chakra is responsible for feeling our feelings. Oh, how joyous. So the sacral chakra, though, is also responsible for pleasure, giving and receiving. And pleasure is, so when, like, for instance, if I give someone something, they get pleasure from the gift and I receive pleasure from giving, right? The exchange of pleasure. If you have experienced shame at some part of your life, which is a level 1 quantum activation healing session, and it's on shame for a reason. It's on shame because every single human on this entire planet has received shame for being something or doing something. And it typically is in childhood. So shame then becomes part of the identity of self. So we internalize that shame. It's not usually externalized. Judgment is externalized, where shame is internalized. So when we look at ourselves through the lens of shame, we then have to disconnect ourselves from pleasure, because that shame is usually involved with some kind of pleasure. Like, you were doing something that you wanted to do and you got yelled at for it. You were put in a certain circumstance and you knew it was wrong, but you still somehow got pleasure, whether it was a body reaction, like through sexual assault, or if it was like a mental reaction where you're like, this is kind of fun. And or it could have just been like, some people like to do things purposely to like get under other people's skin or things like that. You know what I mean? Especially children. They kind of like toying around with you, but then they get in trouble and then they feel this internalized shame for what they did, for being yelled at or disciplined because of their actions. So oftentimes that shame then, even as you grow older, you don't realize it's still there, and it blocks you from being able to be at a peaceful, balanced, or a higher frequency state of accepting and valuing that pleasure. When we're in that state of shame, or it's still in our body, which the level 1 video will help to rid you of that shame, no matter how long ago it was. What happens is then we self-sabotage through our, like, as soon as we start feeling that pleasure, our subconscious patterns kick in and we self-sabotage the situation. So a lot of times people who are trying to achieve, whether they're trying to make a business, they're trying to change their life, they're trying to get more money, they're trying to have better relationships with like romantic partners, friendships, whatever it is, like they're trying to break cycles, right? And grow beyond themselves. When we have that shame that's internalized, whether it be now or in the past, you cannot expand because your creation of your life is based in that center. If that center is blocked by harboring shame, which if you have any kind of fertility issues, inability to have orgasm or sexual pleasure, if you have an inability to keep money or money doesn't flow with you, it like seems to be blocked off, or you can't get out of poverty, it's like you're constantly in these cycles, or you keep failing like over and over and over in your business, or no matter how many times you try to do something, it just doesn't work. It seems like, oh, like this is the same pattern over and over. You are probably having some kind of shame internalized that will not let you go beyond that subconscious programming, because what it says to your physical body is that once you go past this certain threshold that you have within you, that there is harm going to come to you. So it's actually you're going to self-sabotage because your mind is going to tell your body that this is happening, and then you're going to prevent yourself from going over that threshold, from pushing through that like birthing canal, right? Because your body thinks that you're going to die. Literally, that's exactly what it thinks, and it wants to save you. So the system in the body, and in the body it also shows up as like having blocked emotions, like not feeling your emotions. If you were raised in the 80s at all, this is the area that you need to work on, because we were always told, if you want to cry, I'll give you something to cry about. Like that type of generation, that is a generational trauma that keeps people small. Like those types of parents are what blocks their children from expanding and growing and achieving and being successful. So oftentimes, like if you look at your own parents, they were like, you got to push through, you got to work harder. It's because of this blockage right here in the sacral chakra. They had to work harder, they had to push more because they were blocked also. So everything was like, I'll just do it. And they just pushed until they burned themselves out and have all kinds of health issues and things like that. Or they hate their lives, they hate their family, they're just doing what they have to do just repeatedly because they have to do it to survive. To get out of that survival state, you have to reprogram the emotion, because no matter how much yoga you do, you're always going to have that emotional imprint in your body until you allow it to release. And then you're always going to have, so like let's say you release the emotional imprint, like let's say you did the level 1 quantum healing activation for the sacral chakra, right, on shame. But your mind, your subconscious mind, is still going to have that patterning. That's why I made the level 2 videos to go with the level 1 videos, so that the mindset, the subconscious mindset, not just like what you think about shame or how you perceive it, but the actual pattern that is programmed into your brain and into your physical body, like the program that releases the cortisol, that tells your body it's safe to do this, that it allows your body to relax and receive, instead of being like, have you ever met someone who can't receive like gifts or thank yous or anything, and you say something to them and they just like ignore your thank you or your compliment, or you give them a gift and they're like, oh no, you shouldn't have done this, don't, like, no, like, bitch, you deserve to receive, this is for you. Right? I used to be that person. I used to be the person that I felt shameful receiving gifts. Like, so guess who never got gifts? Because after a while of me saying, oh no, you shouldn't have done this, or like if someone gave me a gift, I felt like I had to give them something more, right? Like I had to pay them back. And it always felt like a burden. So I would never tell anyone what I wanted. And I would never like speak up and say like, I want this or this. And I would just always work really hard and buy my own stuff, because I was ashamed of wanting things. I was ashamed of like having wants that I couldn't fulfill myself, and it brought on this huge amount of shame, and that was from my childhood, where my mom was very very strict and traditional, and you basically like for my report cards, I would get money for getting A's on my report card, and I would have to have all A's, which I always did. It was never a problem for me. And but it was like expected, like that's how I got money, is by achieving something, by proving myself through my work. Such a Capricorn child, huh? And this then has led to me as an adult being ashamed of needing help, being ashamed of asking for help, being ashamed of asking, even with my clients, like asking them to meet certain standards for themselves, to accept my boundaries, even in relationships or with friendships, like always giving more because I was ashamed of needing. I was ashamed of being a human, basically. So I want you to really, like, although a lot of people don't really think that they have this shame, we all have it. If you're a human and you're on planet Earth, you have shame, whether it's about who you are, what you've achieved or not achieved, your appearance. Like men have this often about their physical appearance, about their muscular build or whatever, as well as about their financial situations, whether they can provide for others. And a lot of times this shame will come across as anger or rage. And rage is held in the sacral chakra, because it's like that part of you that you cannot bring to the surface. That's what that is. And shame is the root cause of that rage. Like if you have a histamine intolerance, like with foods and things, you have rage pent up in your liver, and it's based within the shame that you have for either like someone put boundaries on you, or you put boundaries, like you swallowed your what you wanted to express. You swallowed your authentic truth. You didn't express it, and now you hold that rage inside, and it's internalized towards yourself. And so then you would feel like, oh, I should have did this, I should have did more, because you get angry at yourself for being just a human. And that then leads upward to the other chakras, right? So every level 1 and level 2 chakra that I release, I'm releasing them in this order specifically because right now we're in Scorpio season, which is of the sacral chakra. We have Mars, which is the ruler of the sacral chakra, one of them. And then Cancer's the other ruler, so the emotions, the moon. But we also have Venus right now in Scorpio, and it wants you to go really deep into why, like, how can we make Venus pleased? How can we bring that pleasure up to the surface but it has to go through the scorpionic energies of transformation and change. So Scorpion energies, our 8th house energies, are all based in the under aspects, the underbelly of the world, the underworld even, right? Pluto and everything. So when we look at the undercurrent of the flow of frequency within our body, we can see that if the undercurrent is, right, like if you think about just like an ocean, like the undercurrent if whatever you're building on top, it looks great, it looks wonderful, but if there's an undercurrent of that like shame, it's going to desolate everything that's on top, right? So it's going to just poke its ugly head up in there one day at one time when you don't know it, and it's going to literally ruin everything, or everything that you built has been built on the false identity that you built around hiding your own shame, which is more likely. And then it won't be aligned to you when you do heal and you do grow as time moves on. So then you have to rebuild. So use these chakra meditations to help you build a solid foundation so that you don't have to go back and like redo things 10 years later after you already built this whole whatever life. You don't have to go back and, have you ever heard those people who are like, oh, time heals everything? Like, no, the fuck it doesn't. Time isn't real, first of all. Second of all, if time healed everything, why do we have memories from past lives and anger from past lives and quantum wounding from emotional currents from past lives? Because time doesn't exist, first of all, and time doesn't heal anything. Second of all, you may forget about it in your daily life, but your body does never, ever forgets. And your body is, right, it's electromagnetic. So that current, that frequency of the emotion that you experienced is always going to be there. And especially when it comes to your health, so you could have infertility, and literally infertility is the ability to not create. So that means that you're not just not creating in your physical body, you're not creating in your life. You cannot create the life that you want because you're blocked. If you have any kind of like endometriosis, PCOS, ovarian cancer, testicular cancers, all these different things, erectile dysfunction, I don't know, whatever else, like all kinds of stuff happen with the reproductive organs, right? All of those things are because you have emotional blocks in that sacral energetic center of your body, and they need to be released because they've been stored there for so long that they've built up now. It's not like you're angry one day and then the next day you get cancer. That's not how it works. It takes years and years for your body to build this up based on electromagnetic frequency within the cells of the body. So go ahead and use these two, level 1 and level 2, together to clear out your sacral chakra, because it's a lot more important than you would probably think. It's actually the second most important thing you could do in your body, not just for your health and your wellness, but for the life that you're creating. You will never, ever achieve your highest status if you cannot receive and give pleasure. If you cannot receive and give emotion, if you cannot express and feel your emotions in a safe and secure way. And you can't safely express your emotions unless you can safely feel them, which is the sacral chakra. I hope this helps. If you have any questions about this healing, the clearing, the wellness, or any of my mentorship programs, I would love to chat with you. I do offer free 1-hour consultations for all my mentorship programs to make sure they're, like a right fit for you and you and I get along, because I want you to succeed. I want to boost you up, and I want you to have the best life that you can.